Ghetto gang, how are you? Salute, salute, salute. Hope all is well and you are having a good week. I genuinely mean that. Shout out to everybody who's been inviting me on their panels and letting me run up in these YouTube streets. If you didn't catch me on This Might Be Risky's panel or on Israel Mills panel or on the wildest wake up morning show ran by Sharon, definitely do yourself a favor and go check out those very interesting engagements. But other than that, man, hope you guys are having a great one. I'm not going to belabor the point. This is part 2, All Hallows edition. We going to take care of some business real quick and we going to get into this. Let's go.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
You had a terrific time.
Alright, keep it real, little dog.
You dogs keep it real, too. Well, that sure was a terrific time. Let's go all around tomorrow and show everyone our new outfits, Timmy. Timmy!
There you are, Jimmy.
What up, Maisie? Yo, Pops.
Jimmy, your mother was getting worried about you.
No need to worry about me. I'm cool like a fool in a swimming pool.
Ain't no reason to worry about me when I'm cool like a fool in a fair use, man. You know what he said. We gotta go and labor the point, man. We gonna jump right back into the presentation of this historical Halloween. Let's go.
Hot beverages, as does the practice of souling, although that one is a little fuzzy, really. Rich folks, according to some accounts, have a harder time getting into heaven. So the tradition of souling is where children show up at your door and sing prayers of faith and forgiveness to try to save your soul if you're a rich person. In exchange for their efforts, rich folks come out and give them baked goods and hot beverages. Clearly, this has moved from harvest time to Christmas for us, for Carol, right? Yeah, I get that reaction too. Anyway, trick or treat. We're finally getting turn of the century postcards.
Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Children dressed up in various ways, but nowhere is the term trick or treat mentioned until 1927. But it doesn't take off. It doesn't lock in until the 1930s. Anybody want to guess why it becomes popular in the 1930s? It is. It is a way for children to go out and get charity for free, without asking for it, without the embarrassment of seeking charity, right? And the children get things that they would not be able to have access to for the rest of the year. It's pretty good, right? Culture and structure influence these holidays far more than many people give them credit for. But originally, costumes looked like this. Monsters, creatures of ghosts and legend. But the most popular films in the 1930s were horror films. Dracula, Frankenstein. Why? Tough times, people do gravitate towards horror films. Don't worry, I'll get to that. But since they're so scary, children adopt those costumes very quickly. Then American pop culture arrives on the scene. blending and mutating even further from what it was. Now it's more us. Today, well, Halloween is a secular holiday. It doesn't have anything to do with religion, officially, depending on your personal choices, but it's celebrated throughout the United States in one form or another. Other countries do celebrate it, but not the way we do. We're kind of unique, and we spend roughly $10 to $11 billion a year on Halloween.
That is way too much money.
$4 billion in candy alone. Right? It is the second most expensive holiday. I don't even have to tell you it's Christmas. The first one for somebody. But there you go. Right? An average of 50 million trick-or-treaters between the ages of 5 and 14 will participate, not counting even smaller ones that their parents take out for no reason whatsoever. Kidding. And 70,000 acres of pumpkins are harvested just for Halloween.
My God.
Close. Thanksgiving, the next closest, not even in the same neighborhood. This holiday, for me, told you I'd make my case, is more us than any other.
Yeah, I don't know who his us is, but just real quick, man. You know I gotta do it. I know y'all gonna hate it, but you know I gotta do it because you can't get away from this book. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18. Start at verse 9. Abominable practices. When you come into the land that the Lord your God has given you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination, that's like enchanting, doing spells, or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. And because of these abominations to the Lord, your God is driving them out before you. You shall be blameless before the Lord your God, meaning you shouldn't be practicing these sins. For these nations, which you are about to dispossess, listen to fortune tellers and diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do this. So we understand that we're not supposed to be participating in these type of rituals. The book of John, third book of John, chapter 1, verse 11. Excuse me, let me get right. I'm out here being silly. Let me get right. Beloved, do not imitate evil. Oh, they're just having fun. We understand it's a Jason mask, it's a Freddy Krueger mask, it's a Michael Myers mask, it's a devil mask, it's a werewolf's mask. We understand those are violent monsters or serial killers. We understand that. But it's just good, clean fun, ghetto. Beloved, do not imitate evil, but imitate good. Everybody going around talk about, oh, DJ Envy has every right to put his daughter in a Little Kim music video and have her doing the Little Kim. I know you see me. I'm to let you know that I got a crush on you in a very revealing outfit. Don't imitate evil, man. Imitate good. Whoever does good is from God. Whoever does evil has not seen God. Oh, that's very rude, ghetto. The book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Last one, Corinthians 6, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. Do not be equally yoked with unbelievers. How many people don't believe the same way you believe, but they are completely cool celebrating these American holidays, letting their kids go out and do this stuff? And so you'll be out there with people who don't have any type of beliefs like you do, but both of your kids are having fun. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? What fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? What portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their most high, and they shall be my people. Therefore, go out from their midst. Separate yourself, you are holy people, and be separate from them. Oh, yeah, he said it. Be separate from them, says the Lord, and touch no unclean thing. Then I will welcome you, and I will be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says the Lord Almighty. Let's keep going.
Yes, Independence Day, America, founding of the country. That is truly important. But many nations have their own version of Independence Day, and they celebrate it, believe it or not, roughly the same way we do. But this is the Celts and the Romans and the Christians and immigration and economics and community. This is us. We've taken all those elements and turned them into something mixed with pop culture and wrapped with a giant bow of capitalism and turned it into our holiday, regardless of where it started. And even now, it's changing. It's altering again. You all are familiar, I hope, with the Day of the Dead, and if you're not, a holiday that arises in Mexico mostly. However, it has its roots with traditions with the Aztecs and other pre-Columbian cultures. The holiday's purpose is to celebrate the people you've lost in the previous year. Not to mourn them, but to celebrate them as if they were still alive with you. Really great holiday because of the high levels of immigration we've had over the past several decades. Many people are now seeing Halloween as a 2 or 3 day holiday rather than just October 31st. Right? There you have it. Free to argue with me. Welcome it, as a matter of fact. Anybody that knows me will tell you that. But there's a lot more detail to go in here, but we have a limited amount of time. I will present some questions, but then I will get to what some of you are here for, the creepy stuff. Anybody have any quick questions on this?
October 31st is also a cross-border day.
Yep.
We're talking about the halfway between the solstice and
Anybody else? Y'all bailing out? Running into the creepy stuff? I'm just messing with y'all. It's okay. Yes.
How
I knew you'd ask the question. Sorry.
comparing it to like from us to other countries, how big do other countries celebrate Halloween?
If you're talking economics, a quarter of what we spend. Right? And it's in regions. There are various Halloween-like traditions that other countries have. Ireland still does the kind of closer to traditional, but because Ireland is so heavily Catholic, those are not overly promoted. Right? So, yeah, nobody does it to our level, especially economically. Right? Talk to people from France and try to explain Halloween the way we do it. You mean you just show up and people give you candy? They're like, what? Yeah. So, Yes.
How do you feel about trunk or treat?
Not a fan.
The question?
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry, he asked how I felt about trunk or treat. Not a fan. I am a child of the Midwest. I was born in Ohio. Halloween's a much bigger deal up north, but I took my wife up there last weekend to prove it. Because, frankly, in Ohio and above, it's the last time you're getting outdoors for like 4 or 5 months as it snows you in, so, so it's the last big party of the year. So, and I grew up in a kind of Leave It to Beaver neighborhood, so I had a root. And that experience stuck with me, and I'm always disappointed every year that Oak Ridge isn't more.
We going
I've left out, and to be honest,
going to skip ahead a little bit, family. Going to skip ahead a little bit.
do a semester-long class on this. But again,
Skipping ahead a little bit, family. Skipping ahead just a little bit. Hope you guys are entertained and enjoying and learning and edified.
and her school was burned to the ground. That job, while she tested
Cool, but before.
and were custom company
Cool. I think we should be good right there.
of golf. Added some new ones. Let's talk about this young lady first.
Cool. All right, before we get into that, Halloween, trick or treat. Halloween, trick or treat. How trick or treating became a Halloween tradition. Trick or feet for my feet. Give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. I'll pull down your underwear. What the Just, are you saying you gonna go pull down the underwear of an adult? Sounds pretty serious. The practice can be traced to the ancient Celts, early Roman Catholics, and 17th century British politics. By the history.com editors. Updated this year. Of course they had to update it. Always updating stuff. What they had to take out now. Trick-or-treating setting off on Halloween night in costume and ringing doorbells to demand treats has been a tradition in the United States and other countries for more than a century. Its origins remain murky, but traces can be identified in ancient Celtic festivals, early Roman Catholic holidays, medieval practices, and even British politics. Ancient origins of trick-or-treating. Halloween has its roots in the ancient pre-Christian Celtic festival of Samhain, which was celebrated on the night of October 31st. The Celtics, who remember initially were the Druids, who lived 2,000 years ago in the area that is now Ireland. And we know that the Tuatha De Danann, or the tribe of Dan, is really who these Celtics Druids used to be formerly were. But we'll keep going. Who lived 2,000 years ago in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France, believed that the dead returned to earth on Samhain. On the sacred night, people gathered to light bonfires, which were bone fires, as we learned yesterday, offer sacrifices, and pay homage to the dead. Did you know, although it is unknown precisely where and when the phrase trick or treat was coined, the custom has been firmly established in American pop culture. Had been firmly established in American pop culture by 1951, when trick or treating was depicted in the Peanuts comic strip. In 1952, Disney produced a cartoon called Trick or Treat, featuring Donald Duck and his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. During some Celtic celebrations of Samhain, villagers disguised themselves in costumes made of animal skins to drive away phantom visitors. Banquet tables were prepared and food was left out to placate unwelcome spirits. It's like Santeria or roots of voodoo, or what was that thing? What was it called in England? It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. The name that it was called of these of the practice that they were doing in England is going to come to me. Sorry about that. It'll come to me. In later centuries, people began dressing as ghosts, demons, and other malevolent creatures, performing antics in exchange for food and drink. This custom, known as mumming, dates back to the Middle Ages. Let me read that again. People began dressing as ghosts, demons, and other malevolent creatures, performing antics, so tricks, in exchange for food and drinks. Custom known as mumming dates back to the Middle Ages and is thought to be an antecedent of trick-or-treating. So like it came before it. Early Christians and the medieval roots of treating. By the 9th century, Christianity had spread into the Celtic islands, where it gradually blended with the supplanted older pagan rites. In 1000 AD, the church designated November 2nd as All Souls' Day, a time for honoring the dead. Celebrations in England resembled Celtic commemorations of Samhain, complete with bonfires and masquerades. Poor people would visit the houses of wealthier families and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pay for the souls of the homeowners' dead relatives. Known as souling, the practice was later taken up by children who would go from door to door asking for gifts such as food, money, and ale. Poor people would visit the houses of wealthier families and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pay for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives. How could they pray for the souls of the homeowners and their dead relatives? It wasn't just a dead relative, it was also them. Known as souling, the practice was taken up by children. So you're sending your kids on souling missions. Interesting. In Scotland and Ireland, young people took part in a tradition called guising, dressing up in costumes and accepting offerings from various households. Rather than pledging to pray for the dead, they would sing a song, write a poem, tell a joke, or perform another sort of trick before collecting their treat, which typically consisted of fruit, nuts, or coins. Who invented candy corn? The tricolored? No, thank you. But it be like that, man. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Let's look at this song, Soul Cake, on All Souls Day. This is mamalisa.com. Shout to you. On All Souls Day in Great Britain and Ireland, it used to be customary for children to go souling. They would go door to door begging for pastries with crosses on them. Hot cross buns. Oh, hot cross bun. That's one of the first songs. Like they teach children when they start teaching them piano. Give them to your daughters, give them to your sons. 1 a penny, 2 a penny. Hot cross buns. Wow, hot cross buns is just soul cakes. Damn. Are you not entertained, man? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained, man? Sometimes they were given fruit or coins instead, just like Halloween and the Day of the Dead. Symbolically, these were treats put out for the dead to appease their souls when they came back to earth for a day, just like how Jack of the jack-o'-lantern was allowed because of the flame to come back and walk the earth on Halloween. It is also a promise for the person receiving the soul cakes to pray for the dead relatives of the people who gave out the soul cakes to help their relatives' souls go from purgatory to heaven. Here's a song kids would sing for All Souls Day when they were begging for treats. Soul cake souling song. Soul, soul, soul cake. Please, good missus, a soul cake. Apple, pear, plum, or cherry. Anything good to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. God bless the master of this house, the mistress also. and all the little children that run your table grow. Likewise, young men and maidens, your cattle and your store, and all that dwells within your gates, we wish you 10 times more. Down into the cellar and see what you can find. If the barrels are not empty, we hope you will prove kind. We hope you will prove kind with your apples and strong beer, and we'll come no more a-souling till this time next year. The lanes are very dirty, my shoes are very thin, I've got a little pocket to put a penny in, and if you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny will do. If you haven't got a halfpenny, then God bless you. Soul, soul, soul cake, please, good missus, a soul cake. Apple, pear, plum, or cherry, any good thing to make us all merry. 1 for Peter, 2 for Paul, 3 for him who made us all. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's jump back in.
Her name clearly is Locusta of Gaul. 1st century Rome, 80. By the way. Agrippina, the wife of Emperor Claudius, wanted her husband dead. And to accomplish this, she turned to Locusta of Gaul, who had a reputation as a skilled herbalist and poisoner. Locusta was reported to be so skilled that you could name the time someone would die after they were poisoned, and it would happen. Claudius was finally out of the way, and his son Nero becomes the emperor, and Locusta becomes a favorite. Nero eliminates many of his political rivals with her, and in gratitude awards her with a school so she can teach other poisoners how to do that job, while she tested her concoctions on thousands of unwilling slaves. She is possibly considered one of the first serial killers.
This is what we celebrating. This is what we celebrating.
Most of that Rome, 80.
Let's run that back real quick. Fair use, fair use. This is what we celebrating, y'all. Let's go.
Her name clearly is Locusta of Gaul.
Locusta of Gaul.
Rome, 80. By the way. Agrippina, the wife of Emperor Claudius, wanted her husband dead. And to accomplish this, she turned to Locusta of Gaul, who had a reputation as a skilled herbalist and poisoner. Locusta was reported to be so skilled that you could name the time someone would die after they were poisoned, and it would happen. Claudius was finally out of the way, and his son Nero becomes the emperor, and Locusta becomes a favorite. Nero eliminates many of his political rivals with her, and in gratitude awards her with a school so she can teach other poisoners how to do that job, while she tested her concoctions on thousands of unwilling slaves. She is possibly considered one of the first serial killers. By that same, unfortunately for her, it all came to an end when Nero lost power and committed suicide. Not by poison. She was immediately accosted by the troops of the new emperor and sentenced to be torn apart. And her school was burned to the ground. Good memo.
Fair use, fair use.
try somebody a little more visceral. Gilles de Rais. Almost all of you, at least in part, know the story of Joan of Arc, right? Saint of Orleans. But what you may not know is throughout her entire campaign, Gilles de Rais, the towering 6'4" knight, was her self-appointed bodyguard. After she was sentenced to death, he returned to his country estate, his castle, really, and to live a quiet life, and then basically settled into isolation. But his relatives, mainly after his money, got tired of him ignoring him, so they sent representatives of the church to his castle to confront him. He kept turning them away until one really insistent bishop forced his way into the castle and killed him. This necessitated a bunch of church troops who stormed his castle, cracked it open, and found the truth about his isolation. He was luring children from the nearby villages into his castle. He would feed them, clothe them, and treat them like princes and princesses. Then, in the middle of the night, he would wake them up and hunt them through his estate. At first, strangling them to death, later getting more and more vicious, and then, according to the church testimony, desecrating their bodies in, quote, unspeakable ways. He, according to reports, painted.
You heard what that man said, and this is what you got your kids celebrating. Let's go.
Gilles de Rais, the towering 6'4" knight, was her self-appointed bodyguard. After she was sentenced to death, he returned to his country estate, his castle, really, and to live a quiet life, and then basically settled into isolation. But his relatives, mainly after his money, got tired of him ignoring him, so they sent representatives of the church to his castle to confront him. He kept turning them away until one really insistent bishop forced his way into the castle and killed him. This necessitated a bunch of church troops who stormed his castle, cracked it open, and found the truth about his isolation. He was luring children from the nearby villages into his castle. He would feed them, clothe them, and treat them like princes and princesses. Then, in the middle of the night, he would wake them up and hunt them through his estate. At first, strangling them to death, later getting more and more vicious, and then, according to the church testimony, desecrating their bodies in, quote, unspeakable ways. He, according to reports, painted one room of his castle completely with the blood of his victims, and used their severed limbs as decoration in his satanic rituals, which he confessed to be clear. Although confessions under the Inquisition, well, when asked how many children he had killed, he said, "I'm not sure, they all blend together after a while," which he might have meant literally. Just saying, those of you who wanted jokes. But in the end, he was convicted of murder, blasphemy, and Satanism. He was burned at the stake. And unlike Joan, he deserved it. Okay, this next picture gets more disturbing the longer you look at it. This is Sawney Dean. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm done back here.
Sonny Bean's father was a dictator. His father expected his son to enter the workforce along with him. But the problem was, Sonny felt he was unsuited for work of that nature. Or work of any nature, to be honest. Instead, he fled home with a woman named Black Agnes Douglas, who had been reported to be a witch. They made their living robbing people along the road until, along the coast of Scotland, they found a cave. The entrance was hidden when it was high tide, so they took up residence there. They remained there, undisturbed and undiscovered for 25 years. During that time, they produced 6 daughters, 8 sons, 14 granddaughters, and 18 grandsons. You all want to do the mental calculation on that. They never went to town. Yeah. How do you support a family like that? Well, they did so by robbing passers-by on the coast road, attacking them in the dark, beating them up, killing them, and then dragging them back to their cave where they were dismembered and their limbs would be pickled for later. Indeed. The local townsfolk weren't ignorant of the fact that these people were disappearing all the time.
Fair use.
They sent out search parties. One group even saw the cave. But
Fair use.
said it was unfit or impossible for humans to habitate there. They did, by the way, catch the local innkeeper, who they blamed for it and hung. Wasn't his fault. This all came to an end when there was a big county fair. A soldier and his newlywed wife were heading along a coast road on the way home when they were accosted by the clan. This time, though, the soldier was experienced and armed, and he held them off. But their horse was startled, his new wife fell, and was mauled to death by the Bean grandchildren. That is the exact quote from the newspaper article, mauled to death. He survived, and a large crowd moving up the road from the fair drove the clan off. The injured soldier was taken to the magistrate, and immediate search was found. Since it was so fresh this time, they found the trail and went back to the cave. What they found was the inspiration for hundreds of horror movies. Piles of heirlooms and loot that would never be spent was scattered throughout the 200-foot deep cave, along with hanging limbs and barrels of pickled body parts. The Bean clan, according to accounts, gave in without a fight. Now, there are a couple accounts of what happens to them here. The most popular is that they were taken to Glasgow and convicted without a trial because, upon observation, the judges felt they were, quote, subhuman and did not deserve a trial. The men were executed by having their hands and feet cut off where they bled to death, and the women were burned alive. Of pickled body parts. The Bean clan, according to accounts, gave in without a fight. Now, there are a couple accounts of what happens to them here. The most popular is that they were taken to Glasgow and convicted without a trial because, upon observation, the judges felt they were, quote, subhuman and did not deserve a trial. The men were executed by having their hands and feet cut off where they bled to death, and the women were burned alive. Justice in the 15th century.
You know what? I figured
this is one of those times you have to give the judges credit for calling someone subhuman.
No comment. Just saying. You all showed up. You know what you signed up for. All right, let's try something else. Let's try something a little shorter, but interesting nonetheless. Thuggebaron. Yes, that's his name. Why? Because he was the head of the Thuggee cult, the worshippers of Kali. The word thug is actually taken from the activities of these groups throughout India. He is possibly the world's most prolific serial killer. He and his 200 followers would carry a
So all you thugs that don't be doing no cereal, yo, chill, just chill, get 'em.
yellow sash. All right, let's try something else. Let's try something a little shorter, but interesting nonetheless. Thuggebaron. Yes, that's his name. Why? Because he was the head of the Thuggee cult, the worshippers of Kali. The word
Oh, okay. Dougie Baron. Let's go.
the activities of these groups throughout India. He is possibly the world's most prolific serial killer.
Dang. Before we get into that, man. Before we get into that. Can't get away from this book for too long, man. The book of Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. The book of Psalms chapter 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and it does, and its leaves does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Those don't be having no success. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. And last one, the book of Exodus chapter 23 and verse 24. You shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them. Ghetto, that's not what we doing. Ghetto, we just trying to let our kids have a good time. Ghetto, you saying, ghetto, you taking it too far. Ghetto, you always being so extreme. You being crazy. You being wild. You being over the top. Did y'all see the picture of the young lady who had her and her daughters have surgery? Her daughters might be less than 8 years old, man, and her son was like 2 or 3, and he was dressed like the doctor, and the moms and the 2 little daughters was dressed like they had all just had cosmetic surgery. They had their chest done, and they had they bottoms enhanced, and the bandages were bloody. If I could find the picture, I'ma add it. But like, this is what we teaching our children, man. This is what we teaching our children. This doesn't make any sense, man. You shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do as they do, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their pillars in pieces. Let's get back. Fair use, man.
He and his 200 followers would carry a yellow sash, but in that they'd have a coin sewn into it, and they would use it to strangle people to death. They would infiltrate traveler and trade caravans, strangling people in the dark. This was destroying trade, so of course the British Empire was interested in that. They hunted him for 2 decades before he was finally caught. Al, one of his friends, ratted him.
That's how it be for thugs.
When he was caught,
That's how it be for thugs.
at the age of 79. He claimed that he had performed his first murder at the age of 10, and he had been present during 931 murders, and that he had personally strangled over 163 people. The reason I give this credence is the British Empire immediately said that didn't happen and covered it all up and executed him privately. And never mentioned they caught him until much later. Most prolific serial killer? History. Burden. Some of you that were in my class this morning, we talked about World War I. And that's what's next. Because we can't do something without war. We've got to talk about an incident called the Charge of the Dead Men. 1915, in April of 1915, a group of German soldiers are trying to take a castle on the border of Poland. It's called Auschwitz Castle. Not Auschwitz, different story, not one for tonight either. But Auschwitz Castle is a medieval castle on the border of Poland and Russia, basically where the Ukraine is. The Germans had been trying to take it from April till August, till they finally made the decision to shell the medieval castle with chlorine and bromine poison gas. If you don't know, chlorine gas, when mixed with aerosolized water, becomes hydrochloric acid. And before your lungs fill up. Right? Now, this is a medieval castle. It has no ventilation, and Russian gas masks, you would actually be better off putting a wet paper bag over your head. They shelled it starting in the morning for 6 hours. A company of German soldiers arrived at the gate and opened it up. But I must set the scene for you. As they open the gate, the entire courtyard is covered with fire and smoke. They can barely see in front of them, but then, out of the smoke, rise 100 Russian soldiers. They are a horrific sight. Their skin is falling off of them. Their eyes are melting out of their heads. Some of them are literally coughing their lungs up onto their chests, but they're so angry that the Germans gas them, they refuse to die. And they charge the company of German soldiers at the gate. And they immediately, faced with a real army of zombies, throw down their weapons and flee. All of these men did pass away, but it did take the Germans another 3 months to take the fortress because they refused to go near it. What's Halloween without a zombie story? Just saying. All right, let's try something creepy.
Oh, we haven't been creepy yet, huh?
This is a creepy on a different level. When you talk about the Hinterkaifeck murders. In April of 1922. To tell this story, though, we've got to back up to October of 1921. In Bavaria, Andreas Gruber noticed footprints in the snow leading to his house. He mentioned it to a neighbor. He looked around, but he didn't think anything of it and just kind of forgot about the incident. This is arguably the biggest mistake in his life. Possibly the last one, too. Over the next several months, the family had several strange occurrences: missing sets of house keys, newspapers showing up that they didn't order, and their maid quit because she said their house was haunted. She heard footsteps above her head and felt like she was being watched all the time. This continued, and perhaps they should have listened to their maid. But they blew it off. Superstitious, doesn't matter. And the Gruber family had a reputation for being isolation. They kept to themselves, but when their 7-year-old son didn't show up for school in April, people began to get worried. But there was smoke rising from their chimney. Somebody was clearly home, so it was okay. The animals were out there. Everything was fine. Then they didn't show up for church a couple weeks in a row. Finally, some neighbors decided to go see what was going on. They found the entire family, Andres, his wife, their adult daughter, their new maid, and 2 children, ages 7 and 2, all hacked to pieces with a pickaxe. As the investigation increased, they found that whoever killed them had just settled down and made dinner, had fed the animals, had watched over them, had kept the fire going, had lived there amongst the bodies scattered throughout the house and the barn. And further investigation showed somebody had been living in their attic, unbeknownst to them, for at least 6 months. Whoever it was, before the neighbors got around to checking on them, had simply walked away. And now, 100 years later, still unsolved. Y'all gonna go home and check your attic? After I told my wife this story, she made me start checking the attic. All right, 2 more stories.
Fair use, fair use.
We think of Halloween, a few iconic images come to mind. Witches, monsters, and pumpkin spice latte. Many of us think of an eerie grin on the face of a carved pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern. But what if I told you that the jack-o'-lantern, a friendly face lighting up your doorstep each Halloween, actually comes from a much darker, older...
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the audio of this one.
About a man who tricked the devil, cheated death,
see if I can fix
and
the
was
audio
cursed to wander the earth for eternity. Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the legend of Stingy Jack. Long ago, in a small village in Ireland, there lived
the audio on that one's a little
known
janky. Sorry, let me
Imagine a night when the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, when spirits slip into our world and ancient rituals are our only protection. What if Halloween was never about costumes and candy, but a night of true fear? Halloween is celebrated worldwide on October 31st, with costumed children demanding trick-or-treat, while homeowners hand over sweets to avoid mischief. But this night of spooks and sweets actually traces back thousands of years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, a festival marking the line between life and death. The Celts, who lived across Britain, Ireland, and northern France around 2,000 years ago, celebrated Samhain to mark the end of the harvest.
Yeah, sorry guys, these don't have the best audio right here. Let's see this one. Fair use, fair use.
A unique holiday tradition in Newfoundland came roaring back this year. Like many celebrations, the Mummers Parade moved online during the pandemic. But this year, the Mummers are back. If you're not from Newfoundland, there's a chance you might never have heard of this unusual festive tradition. Disguised in oversized clothes, faces covered, and voices masked, Mummers barge in on their neighbors and serenade them with a folksy tune or a jig. The hosts try to guess the identities of their masked visitors, offer up some food and booze, and send them on their way.
So you might put on a great big old shirt, So you grab some kind of an old lace curtain that your nan might have had lying around, jam something on the top of your head. You might wear a big old pair of woolen mitts on your hands.
While its exact origins are hazy, mummering traces its roots back to the riotous ancient Roman Saturnalia festival, a day of feasting and celebration where slaves and masters would switch places. After the Roman Empire converted to Christianity, some Saturnalia customs were folded into Christian traditions. The word mummering seems to date at least as far back as the 18th century in England and Ireland, where troops of amateur actors performed comedic mummers plays like St. George and the Dragon, based on the Christian legend of St. George who slays a dragon to save a princess from being sacrificed to the creature.
The play basically, it entails a hero and a villain, the villain getting the better of the hero, and then he dies, and then through magic, a doctor brings our hero back to life.
The English and Irish brought mummering to the New World, to cities like Philadelphia, which still holds a mummers parade on New Year's Day. Mummering first shows up in Newfoundland and Labrador in the 1800s, but has a dark side. Mummers were mischievous, sometimes even violent. And in 1860, Newfoundland's government made it illegal to mummer without a permit after a man was killed.
For a long time, there were stories about there being all sorts of violence in the 1800s with mummers, and that if you were caught walking down the road and a gang of mummers caught up with you, they would beat you with sticks or old animal bladders, and they would rip down your fence, or they would tip over your outhouse.
Today, mummering is still done by some in communities like Collier's Riverhead, where writer Dennis Flynn is from.
We kind of love an excuse to come and knock on your neighbor's door and go where you're welcome and tell a few stories, sing a few songs.
A popular song revitalized the tradition in the 80s, and in the early 2000s, the parade launched in St. John's. Mummers now mostly visit seniors and people who are housebound, but in some communities they're so popular you have to book a visit from them in advance.
Sometimes they would get up to a bit of devilment, but not so much anymore. It's a chance to get together, to check in on senior neighbors, make sure they're doing okay, to give them a little bit of entertainment, especially in post-pandemic times.
Mummers are no longer frightening characters of lore. Instead, in those rare communities where people know
fair use,
it's simply a way to spread some holiday cheer. Alyssa Julie, Global News.
Jack. He was a liar, cheater, manipulator, and trickster, always outsmarting people
the audio better.
For anything.
Let's see what's up.
With no morals and a distaste for others, Jack loved nothing more than to drink and gamble and cheat people out of their hard-earned money. His tricks had become famous in his village, but they had also garnered the attention of a most nefarious being, the devil. The devil himself was impressed, and maybe a little envious, by Jack's reputation for being dark and greedy, and decided to pay him a visit. One night, after a long evening of drinking, Jack was stumbling through the countryside
when he
came upon something unusual in the middle of the cobblestone path. A body lay there with a twisted grin on its face. As Jack drew closer, the dead man's eyes turned to him. "Hello, Jack," the body said. "I am the devil, and I have come to take your soul to hell." Jack knew his time had come, but being the trickster he wasn't ready to go without one last scheme. He made a final request. He asked the devil to allow him one last drink of ale before heading to hell. Amused by the request, the devil agreed and took Jack to the local pub, where they drank together. When it came time to pay, Jack, ever the con man, convinced the devil to turn himself into a silver coin to settle the tab. The devil, intrigued by Jack's cleverness, agreed. But as soon as the devil transformed, Jack slipped the coin into his pocket, right next to a small crucifix. The presence of the cross trapped the devil in his coin form, preventing him from escaping. Now it was Jack's turn to bargain. He made the devil promise not to take his soul for 10 more years in exchange for his freedom. Trapped and with no other choice,
And this is the history of jack-o'-lanterns, guys. This is it.
the devil reluctantly agreed. But Jack wasn't finished with his tricks just yet. For 10 years, he continued his evil ways. And after 10 years, the devil came back for Jack's soul. "Hello, Jack," the devil said. "It has been 10 years, and I have come to take your soul to hell." Jack rubbed his stomach and asked if the devil would fetch him an apple from the nearby tree before they started their journey. At first, the devil refused, but the more Jack groaned about his hunger, the devil gave up and climbed the tree. While the devil was up in the branches, Jack carved a cross into the tree's trunk, trapping the devil once more. This time, Jack made the devil promise to never take his soul. Once again, the devil had to agree. Once again, Jack went on with his life, enjoying his evil ways. Eventually, like everyone, Jack's time came to an end. But when he tried to enter heaven, he was turned away because of his life of greed and trickery. With nowhere else to go, Jack went to the gates of hell. But the devil, still angry from being tricked twice, kept his promise. He refused to let Jack in, leaving him with no place to rest.
So he's stuck. He can't go to heaven or hell.
The devil gave Jack a single burning coal to light his way as he wandered between purgatory and earth, forever searching for a home. Jack placed the coal inside a hollowed-out turnip, using it as a lantern. From that day on, Jack became a restless spirit, doomed to roam the night with his flickering turnip lantern, earning him the name Jack of the Lantern, or, as we know it today, Jack O'Lantern. For many years, people in Ireland told the story of Stingy Jack and his haunting lantern. To keep his wandering spirit away, they began carving frightening faces into turnips and placing candles inside them. These glowing turnips were meant to scare off Jack and other evil spirits. When Irish immigrants came to America, they brought this tradition with them. But instead of using tough and brittle turnips, they found something much better: pumpkins. Pumpkins were bigger, easier to carve, and plentiful in the New World. And so the tradition of carving jack-o'-lanterns into pumpkins was born. Over time, this spooky custom became part of Halloween celebrations, and what started as a simple effort to keep a trickster's ghost away turned into a fun and familiar symbol of the holiday.
Definitely appreciate that. Fair use. But before we get into this, let's take a quick break, man. We just been diving and digging and divvying and diving. I appreciate it. All praise to the Most High. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We'll be right back, guys.
If you don't know money, excuse me. They ain't getting no money. Don't know me. Say it again. If they don't know me, they ain't getting no money. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. Some woman gonna steal my picture. Watch what it tell you. Okay.
I ain't gonna take it. I ain't gonna take it.
No, I want
That's all you.
I want you to take me home with you and let me ride your house.
That's my wife. Right now.
That's my wife, Catfish. You can't do that, Catfish. That's my wife. You know what?
Catfish just summed it up. He just came to me and just seen me. He was like, whoa. When I see him, I was like, whoa. I say, who am I? Catfish, just tell him where I'm from, man. Just tell the cameras where I'm from, man.
You from anywhere money at.
Right.
Now, if y'all take my picture and get paid like Eddie Murphy did on the PJ, I'm that nigga in the basement.
Boy, I tell you, they just don't make anything this scary anymore. Ah! Get out of here! Shoo!
Thurgood, this is his hovel and we are his guests. Now, me crack house, just you crack house.
This ain't nobody's crack house.
Smokey, how's your 12-step recovery coming?
Pretty good. Doctor say I'm down to 80.
So, saying what the fuck? Take a deep breath, man. I mean, take a long, deep breath. Know that if you call a shot, we at war. We at war.
I'm there like I've always been. Thing about turf, man, it ain't like it was.
I mean, you ain't gotta pay no price of buying no corners.
Since when do we buy corners? We take corners.
Man, you gonna buy one way or another.
Whether it's with the bodies we don't lost.
Or you're gonna lose. Time in the joint is behind us or ahead of us. I mean, you gonna get some shit in this game, but ain't shit for free. I mean, how many corners do we need? How much money can a nigga make?
More than a nigga can spend.
And then we ain't gonna be around to spend what we done made already.
Shit,
Don't understand is that if it's so offensive to them, then why do they say it over and over again?
So Riley said the N-word before you did that morning.
He says it every morning. He calls me nigga. He calls the other kids nigga. He calls himself nigga all the time. Nigga this, nigga that, nigga please. Bitch nigga, have you lost your mind? Nigga, check that hoe. Nigga, you bullshitting. Break yourself, nigga. He says it so much I don't even notice it anymore. Last week in lunch, Riley says to a classmate, "Can a nigga borrow a French fry?" And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, he said the word, the N-word. It was, now how is a nigga gonna borrow a fry? Nigga, is you gonna give it back? I'm telling you, my inside voice didn't talk like that before he got in my class.
He said, I said it first. Man, I'm telling you, I seen the hatred in his eyes the first time I walked into class. All he saw when he looked at me was a black nigga.
Gang, yeah, gang, we back. So very quickly, DJ Envy blasted for dressing his 8-year-old daughter in a racy Little Kim costume. This is MSN.com. Now, I apologize because this is a little inappropriate to be showing such a young girl dressed this way. But, this is kind of crazy, DJ Envy, but I get it. DJ Envy is being dragged by fans across social media after dressing up his 8-year-old daughter as Little Kim for the spooky season. The Breakfast Club morning show, DJ gathered his wife, Gia, 45, and his children, Madison, 23, Logan, 21, London, 11, Jackson, 10, Brooklyn, 8, and Peyton, 2, to celebrate the eve of Halloween by recreating Little Kim and Little Cease's 1996 Crush on You music video. The footage was posted on Instagram Wednesday, October 30th, prompting fans to clap back at what they deem a gross and inappropriate recreation for a child to participate in. Happy Halloween Eve, presenting Crush on You, the Casey Crew remix. Enjoy. DJ Envy, real name Rashawn Casey, wrote in the caption of the controversial video. Shout out to Little Kim the Queen Bee. Stay tuned for another treat tomorrow. The 8-year-old who starred as Little Kim wore a revealing red cutout bodysuit with matching shoes, shades, hair, and a fur coat. In the video, Envy called Kim on the phone to present the look before singing, "Shall I proceed? Yes, indeed." Fans broke their ankles running to the comment section, maintaining that the minor daughter, Brooklyn, was simply too young to embody such an adult look. This is gross and inappropriate to have your child dressing and rapping like this for the world to see, one fan wrote. Why Elaine get the wife to be Little Kim, a second inquired. Wildly inappropriate for a child, the third exclaimed. The way he talks like he's so protective over his girls over the radio. This is very shocking to see, a concerned fan added. A smaller group of fans weren't rubbed wrong by the post at all, saying she killed it and this is iconic. The original hip-hop classic Crush on You featured New York rappers Little Cease of the legendary Junior Mafia, released back in '96. Despite the family receiving massive backlash regarding the post, DJ Envy has yet to respond. Guys, I gotta say, I think it's a little bit much to have your daughter dressing up like this, to say this is not participating in evil. I mean, it's a whole song about sexual interactions between adults. To have a child dressed like this, your daughter, your own daughter. Do not whore your daughter, sir. Do not whore your daughter. Book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 14. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will correspond to their deeds, meaning they will get what they deserve. They will reap what they have sown. Fair use.
Come to mind. Witches, monsters, and pumpkin spice latte. Many of us think of when we think of Halloween, a few iconic images come to mind. Witches, monsters, and pumpkin spice latte. Many of us think of an eerie grin on the face of a carved pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern. But what if I told you that the jack-o'-lantern, a friendly face lighting up your doorstep each Halloween, actually comes from a much darker, older tale? It's a story about a man who tricked the devil, cheated death, and was cursed to wander the earth for eternity. Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the legend of Stingy Jack. Long ago, in a small village in Ireland, there lived a man known as Stingy Jack. He was a liar, cheater, manipulator, and trickster, always outsmarting people to avoid paying for anything. With no morals and a distaste for others, Jack loved nothing more than to drink and gamble and cheat people out of their hard-earned money. His tricks had become famous in his village, but they had also garnered the attention of a most nefarious being, the devil. The devil himself was impressed, and maybe a little envious, by Jack's reputation for being dark and greedy, and decided to pay him a visit. One night, after a long evening of drinking, Jack was stumbling through the countryside when he came upon something unusual in the middle of the cobblestone path.
Beginning of winter, when daylight faded and the spirit world was believed to draw near, between the living and the dead blurs. Imagine a night when the boundary between the living and the dead blurs.
Sorry about that. Fair use.
When
Let's
spirits
go.
slip into our world and ancient rituals are our only protection. What if Halloween was never about costumes and candy, but a night of true fear? Halloween is celebrated worldwide on October 31st, with costumed children demanding trick-or-treat, while homeowners hand over sweets to avoid mischief. But this night of spooks and sweets actually traces back thousands of years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, a festival marking the line between life and death. The Celts, who lived across Britain, Ireland, and northern France around 2,000 years ago, celebrated Samhain to mark the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, when daylight faded and the spirit world was believed to draw near. Celtic priests known as druids led the Samhain ritual, lighting massive bonfires in each village to scare off evil spirits that might cross into our world that night. Families even relit their hearth fires from the sacred bonfire embers to protect their homes and ensure warmth for the coming winter. When the Romans conquered Celtic lands, they blended their own rituals, including those honoring Pomona, the goddess of fruit, whose apple symbol might explain Halloween's bobbing for apples. Then, in the 5th century, Christianity arrived in Britain, spreading festivals like All Hallows Day, a day to honor saints and martyrs. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory moved All Hallows to early November, blending Christian beliefs with the ancient Samhain and transforming it to All Hallows Eve, what we now call Halloween. Over time, Halloween became a mix of old Celtic customs, Christian traditions, and ghostly games, like bobbing for apples and carving turnips to ward off spirits. Eventually, American trick-or-treat added the final twist to this haunting holiday.
Yeah, man. Shout out to that. And real quick before we get out of here, I just wanted to show you guys these pics. See how if I could pull them up. Let's see if I can share my screen. Hold on. Let me see if I can just add them to the slides. Give me 1 second, gang. Give me 1 second. Support the movement. Support the movement. Support the... God dang it. Okay, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to share these individually. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if y'all can see it or not because it's not. Here we go. Guys, I know y'all think that this is cute. I get it. I know y'all think this is appropriate and this is fun and this is a good time and, you know, we should just let people be people and bygones be bygones. But gang, this is a little much, gang. This is a little much, gang. You don't agree that this is a little much? I mean, you know, we can agree to disagree. She has blood coming out of her bosom and her rear area, indicating she just got surgeries, guys. I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate, even to be putting that in the little girl's mind that that's what she's gonna need to do. It's so crazy to me. Like, you beautiful the way you are. Why we not advocating that they beautiful the way they are? I'm not sure. Let me pull up some other ones real quick. I mean, you can tell me I'm doing too much and you can say, oh, this ain't none of my business. That's cool. We can disagree. Here's the whole family photo. This one kind of really took me through a loop because you got the moms here. You got mama and the whole gang. Like, you got mama and the whole gang here. She got her daughters. To me, her daughters can't be no more than 10 years old. That one looked like she 8. This one looked like she 8. This one looked like she 10. Mama, what's going on, mama? There's literally nothing else y'all could have dressed up as. Nothing. Got the little man being a doctor. At least she want her little man to be a doctor. That's beautiful, aspirational, uplifting, motivational, positive imagery. But Jesus, mama, this is extremely inappropriate. This is crazy. Why are we so quick to absorb and love all of this demonic energy? Serving BBL energy with my mini-me squad. Happy Halloween, whole lot of new level of mommy makeover. Same spooky season, just more curves. Gang, this is what we doing now. Family. This is how we showing our kids to feel good about themselves. All ghetto as usual. You don't get it and you not fun and you're always taking stuff too far. Ghetto, like, what's wrong with you, ghetto? You never had fun when you was a child, ghetto. Nobody ever loved you as a child, ghetto. Damn, ghetto, you just be taking stuff too far, ghetto. It's like, damn, ghetto. I know I'm taking it too far and having your child be pretending that she just it's just post-op life-altering, body-altering surgeries is not. People die from these surgeries. Like, a lot of women who share my reflection because of low self-esteem die from these surgeries, and it's not okay. But we gonna leave it there, gang. It's your boy Ghetto. Tap in with me, hisghettopointofview@gmail.com, hisghettopointofview@gmail.com, hisghettopointofview@gmail.com.
You're a bastard, Mr. Stubbs. You really are a Tom. You stole your friend's possessions to buy a CD-ROM, Mr. Stubbs. Your current address is at www.badodor.com.
But Santa, why are you taking our fish tank. Why?
Now that old dirty bastard was as smart as they get. He thought up a lie, and quickly, you bet.
Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars yet.
You're a biatch, Mr. Stubbs. Your heart's an open sore between you and Jar Jar Binks. Niece, I say I like him more, Mr. Stubbs. Mr. Stubbs. Why you must have purchased
Fair
your
use,
moral
fair
back.
use.
The 99-cent store.
But the thing that scared black people the most are niggas and nigga moments. Tom Dubois was as far from a nigga as a black man could be. The stick meter knew that every black man's spirit is weakened during a nigga moment.
What the? Oh, come on, you nincompoop! You can't do that! Hey! Come on!
Nigga moments can happen to any black man at any time.
Hey! That was my space! I had my blinker on and everything!
Fuck you, punk-ass, bougie-ass, hook-ass nigga! I'll beat your motherfucking sedity-ass nigga! Don't never in your life ever try to holler at me, nigga! Fuck with me, nigga, I'll be done pop the trunk on your bitch-ass nigga! Get my motherfucking Uzi, nigga!
What did you say, nigga?
You know what, motherfucker? Eat a dick, nigga! I'm tired of this mother...
Oh, yeah! Look at you! You was popping all that good shit a second ago!
Gang. Yo, man, I hope y'all have been entertained and enlightened. And I know there was some parts that were definitely wordy. But I hope, run this back a million times. Listen to it as much as you want. Cross-reference it. Prove me wrong. Prove I'm bugging. Tell me that this is not true, that this is not a insane level of demonic worship with all the history of murders and animal sacrifices and brutality that is centered around these days, and delving into spirits and the liminal air, mist that is in the air, the thinning of the veil, and being able to interact with those. If that's what you do and that's your thing, so be it. You know what I mean? My books say we do not suffer a sorcerer to live. You know what I'm saying? Hiya! But gang, it's your boy Ghetto. All praises to the Most High. Blessings and blessings and blessings and blessings to you and your family. And I'm so forever humbled and thankful and beyond grateful for all the blessings and all the lessons that keep being bestowed on my family by the Most High. Love gang, love gang, love gang. Let me know if you loved it, if you hated it. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. We up out of here, gang. We up out of here, gang. I will see y'all next time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. I'll see you in hell.